Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today I'm taking you to the Mega Master League, and I'm going to be showcasing what's probably the most underrated Mega Pokemon in the entire format, Mega Latios. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Alizy, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Latios, when it's Mega'd, has some pretty massive stats. Add to that the rework to Dragon Breath, making it a Psywave clone, Aura Sphere getting spammed out every 10 turns, and Luster Purge being an incredibly efficient nuke move, and Latios proves to be an incredibly scary safe switch against just about anything in the format. Hopping into the first match, picking up a terrible lead, Zacian into Primal Kyogre. The safe switch into Latios will be answered with a Charm Primarina, but Primarina is going to be immediately under threat as Luster Purge will hit for massive damage. Primarina puts up a shield, Primarina hoping for a farm down, but they're not going to get it. Mega Latios making it to a second Luster Purge, and Mega Latios actually gets 2 Luster Purge debuffs as well. In comes Zacian, and the fact that Primarina was baited out and 2 shields are down, things are looking great for a Palkia sweep. But the opponent realizes they have to save the Primarina, so they will aggressively pivot into Kyogre. This is enough for Thunder. Thunder would inflict some pretty severe damage, so Palkia will put up the first shield. Palkia overfarms quite massively, and now is going to full send this Spatial Rend. Spatial Rend lands. This should set up a great farm down for the Palkia. Kyogre faints as it makes it to the surf. Primarina still does have a decent amount of health, but even though it does resist Aqua Tail, Aqua Tail will add up quite a bit. So Palkia gets the fire off, Aqua Tail number 1, immediately followed by Aqua Tail number 2. Can Primarina hang on? It's going to be very low. Primarina does not get farmed down. Primarina on 1 HP, making a last second disarming voice. In the back is Florges, and it turns out that Palkia was actually not going to be sweeping, but rather it was going to be the Zacian. So the opponent's decision to pivot out and try and play aggressively backfires spectacularly, as now Crown forms Zacian, Behemoth Blades that Florges off the battlefield to take the Game 1 win. We move to game number 2, Zacian versus Zacian, the mirror match. The Crown Zacian mirror is always a bit of a delicate dance, as close combat is the cheapest move to go for, but has a big drawback of lowering your defense by 2 stages. Zacian will strike first with the close combat, opponent puts up the shield, and a beautiful catch onto Mega Latios. Mega Latios hoping it caught the close combat, and it did. That is resisted. Out comes Mega Gyarados, and Gyarados is going to take a ton of damage from Aura Sphere. Mega Latios has big stats. Gyarados going to respect those stats and put up the shield. Gyarados will fire off a charge attack. Latios with an O-shield. They go for the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail does not enable the farm down. Mega Latios gets the Aura Sphere. Let's check this damage. It connects, and Mega Gyarados gets absolutely rocked. In comes Palkia up 2 shields to 0. The opponent still does have a lot of energy stored on the Zacian. In comes the Zacian, but they don't have that energy stored anymore. Combo play with the close combat. Oh, they barely survive, but this is why Zacian has 2 shields. Zacian can put up the shield in the back. The opponent has their own Palkia, and this game is over. Zacian will never be shielding this Aqua Tail, because if you're up a shield in the Palkia mirror and energy is even, you're guaranteed to win. So Zacian just lets itself get KO'd to set up Palkia to slam the door. Palkia, Spatial Rend, we know it's knocking out, and that's going to be yet another win. Hopping into the next match, Zacian, oh, that's not what it's open to see, leading into Mega Charizard Y. This Charizard is on Dragon Breath instead of Ember, so at the very least his fast move is triple resisted, but a Blast Burn will wipe Zacian off the battlefield. Close combat lands, dealing some pretty okay damage. In comes Latios, and Latios is going to be answered with a Togekiss. In the Master League, I assume Togekiss is running Aura Sphere and Dazzling Gleam, as since Togekiss has such low stats compared to everything else in Mega Masters, it's probably going to need Gleam to help out in neutral matchups. Latios puts up the shield, gets to another Luster Purge. Will the opponent double shield in this matchup? Luster Purge is gonna land, Togekiss gets KO'd, and in comes Florges. Florges trying to get to the Moonblast, and Latios makes a 3rd Luster Purge. Latios on a rampage. Florges puts up the shield. Luster Purge gets the debuff, and they're forced to throw energy. Mega Latios is just taking names. Chilling Water does not pick up the knockout, and that lets Latios leave a parting gift of a debuffed Aura Sphere. Latios finally taken off the field, but the damage has been done. In comes Charizard. Charizard met with the Palkia, and the opponent is going to resign the match. Opponents bringing out the spice in the next match as Crown Form Zacian leads into Mega Lucario. Lucario going to have to respect the close combat, but since Zacian's debuffing its defense, Zacian will need to switch out. There is the switch out and a catch onto the Mega Latios. Mega Latios able to absorb that Aura Sphere. Lucario has no intentions of switching out, however, but by not switching out, they're going to have to double shield because Aura Sphere is simply just too threatening. These Force Palms, despite being resisted, are really adding up. No shield from the Latios, it's going to be another Aura Sphere. Does Latios just let itself get knocked out here? No, Latios puts up the shield, Latios gets to the Aura Sphere, but the opponent finally saves that Mega Lucario and switches into Zekrom. Zekrom still takes a lot of damage from the Aura Sphere. In comes Palkia. Palkia CMP tying with the Aqua Tail, needing it to be enough. This is resisted damage, and it does pick up the KO. Back in comes Lucario. Lucario has been megaed, but I don't trust it surviving this. Aqua Tail into the Lucario. Looks like the opponent may have just force closed the app. What do they have in the back? My guess is something pretty weak to Palkia. And there it is. It's the Ho-Oh, and now we know why they force closed the app. Because there was just nothing they could do against this Palkia. Palkia will fire off the Aqua Tail because the opponent did force close the app. It's going to pause for quite a few seconds before the Aqua Tail lands. And from here, I assume Palkia is just going to Dragon Breath down as Ho-Oh just has simply lost the will to continue this battle. Moving to the next match, and there is a Nightmare lead, Zacian into Primal Groudon. The safe switch into Latios is going to be answered with Florges. Florges just goes straight for the Chilling Water, not even building up to the Moonblast. Oh, I stand corrected, they're actually on Disarming Voice. Latios going to go for an Aura Sphere bait, hoping to grab a shield from the opponent. The Aura Sphere bait does get the shield, and now it's Luster Purge time. Is the opponent really willing to double shield? The answer is no. Down goes Florges, and just like that, switch advantage has been won. In comes Palkia. Palkia up a shield, but substantially behind on energy. Palkia always has to respect the Precipice Blades, as it is an incredibly powerful move. Opponent tries for a catch onto Primarina, and winning switch was winning this entire game. Zacian will look to try and exit this matchup with as much energy as possible, as Hydro Cannon will leave its mark. Zacian farms up to 100 energy, going for an undercharge on the Behemoth Blade. I really like this play, as Zacian wants to exit close to the close combat. Close combat, the opponent knows they can never shield this move. They let it go, but Palkia is just so far ahead. Oh, accidentally throwing on alignment. It's not going to matter in this one, as Palkia is too close to the second Aqua Tail. It turns out it already has it. So Aqua Tail number 2 connects onto the Groudon. Groudon is a problem matchup for this team, but with Latios able to flip switch against Florges in the mid game, it made Groudon feel a lot less scary. Pretty decent lead in the next match here, leading Zacian into the Mega Gyarados. Now, on paper, this should be a dominant win for the Zacian, but Gyarados is an absolute monster. Zacian will bait with the Behemoth Blade. It's more expensive, but it's a bait because it's going to do less damage than a close combat. The bait is successful, as the opponent does end up putting up the shield. The important thing is Zacian did not want to lower its defense before tanking 2 Aqua Tails. But the downside is if you Behemoth Blade bait, then Gyarados makes the third move before you can get your close combat. They're going to save switch into Ho-Oh, and Ho-Oh is not going to be happy about the Palkia that just greeted it. Ho-Oh cannot one-shot Palkia. They're going to go for a Brave Bird, but the nice thing for Palkia is due to the fact that they've lowered their defense by 3 stages, Aqua Tail will now just knock them out. Back in comes the Gyarados to be met by a Spatial Rend. Spatial Rend will not KO, but it's going to leave a mark. Gyarados now deep into the red HP. Zacian is very low as well. In the back, opponent has their own Zacian, but this Zacian is going to have to deal with a Latios that's up energy, and the crowned Zacian saved a close combat from the lead matchup. Behemoth Blade has to be respected because it just does way too much damage, so Latios will put up the shield and continue to farm closer and closer to the back-to-back Aura Spheres. Aura Sphere number 1, Zacian is going to be no shielding. There's a switch and a snipe by the Zacian. In comes Gyarados, and even with the -2 defense from the close combat, Gyarados can never farm down. Oh no, the Gyarados CMP tied, a massive misplay. They're going to undercharge the Aqua Tail, try and get the Dragon Breath down, but even at -2 defense, that's a triple resist. Zacian hangs on, makes the close combat, KOing Gyarados, and taking the win. A familiar lead awaits us in the next match, Zacian into Palkia. Much like the Gyarados matchup, Zacian would prefer if Palkia threw the Aqua Tails before close combat debuffs, but Palkia doesn't have an incentive to do so. So instead, Zacian is going to bait with the Behemoth Blade and successfully grab a shield from the opponent. Zacian now going to be no-shielding Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail, as it's not till Aqua Tail number 3 that Zacian has to get worried. So Zacian no-shields once again. Palkia is going to outpace. Oh, what a beautiful one-turn wait and a catch of an Aqua Tail into the Palkia mirror. Opponent gonna stay in this matchup. They are taking quite a lot of damage to do so, and now they bring out their own Zacian. But down this much energy, Zacian is not an answer to Palkia whatsoever. Palkia is about to show Zacian what real pacing looks like, as Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail are about to crash into this Zacian. The constant charge attack pressure forces Zacian to throw in early close combat, and now Zacian gets brought into the mirror. Zacian looking for a farm down, unfortunately cannot get it. The opposing Zacian holds on, makes the Behemoth Blade, and in the back is going to be Mega Charizard Y. This Charizard is on Dragon Breath hitting for super effective damage. They go for the Air Cutter, fishing for a boost, but thankfully they do not get it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Latios will be able to get to 2 Luster Purges, so the bait is in fact needed. Latios, very, very low on health, will put up the shield. Latios trying to get to the Luster Purge, realizes it cannot get there, and instead will settle for this Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere lands, quick switch. Oh, the opponent snipes with their Zacian. That game was close, but unfortunately, it's not to be. We see a tricky lead in the next match, Zacian into Urshifu. Now this is the Water Urshifu, which is far and away the stronger Urshifu. Looks like Zacian will go for an immediate close combat and then look to bail out of this matchup. Urshifu puts up the shield, in comes Palkia, and Palkia is instantly greeted with a Dynamic Punch. Now it's a race to the Spatial Rend. Palkia trying to outpace, opponent tries to catch. Oh, that would have been devastating, but they're unsuccessful, and now their Zacian is in a bit of a bind. Zacian cannot farm down without Palkia making a third Aqua Tail and forcing a shield or getting knocked out. So they're going to be forced to throw energy here. So they lose so much health in the Zacian, they exit the matchup with basically no energy as well. So all in all, they don't really get much of anything out of that Zacian switch in. Zacian will be able to force a shield in the mirror, but this Zacian is going to get a huge farm down, exiting with a massive amount of energy. In comes Groudon. The visuals looked weird there. They shouldn't have been able to sneak. I'm not quite sure if they did. In comes the Latios. They throw on what should only be a Fire Punch. Latios is going to no-shield. I guess we'll find out now if they snuck. It looks like they didn't sneak after all because it is just going to be the Fire Punch. Fire Punch does do a lot for a resisted move, but Latios is not going to get farmed down. Latios will have to burn the final shield of the match and then try and make it to this Aura Sphere into the Groudon. Groudon going to get KO'd with the Aura Sphere. Oh no! Threw on alignment and the catch happens onto the Urshifu. That is a disastrous turn of events. Urshifu will be able to knock out with the Aqua Jet. In comes the Zacian. Zacian has to farm down, and the game is still going to be a win. It's all okay. Oh my. The opponent getting the catch due to accidentally throwing 3 in the move instead of 2. But luckily, with a calculated undercharge, this game will still be a win. Hopping into what I believe is the final match, Zacian into Palkia one final time. Zacian will overfarm, Palkia will overfarm, and Zacian, as it often does, will go for the Behemoth Blade. Palkia puts up the shield. We know Palkia will get to a third Aqua Tail before this close combat is reached. We saw a very flashy catch in an earlier game, waiting a turn and then catching onto Palkia. Will we see that play again? As Zacian is very close to the close combat. No, this time just going to stay in and put up the shield. Palkia now has high incentive to try and catch out of this matchup. There it is! Oh no, they try and catch out on Primal Kyogre, and Primal Kyogre is getting Palkia. Now don't get me wrong, Primal Kyogre's stats are absolutely busted to the point where it survives a Spacer Rend. It's going to inflict some massive damage in return as Thunder connects, and now Palkia is very, very low. My goodness, Primal Kyogre, what an absolute beast. Back-to-back Aqua Tails from Palkia. Aqua Tail will pick up the KO. Opponent snipes with their own Palkia, but now in comes Zacian. Zacian knows it's not getting farmed down, even at -2. There's a simultaneous switch. Charm Primarina into Latios. Latios gets to this Luster Purge, and this is going to be good night Primarina. Luster Purge connects, picking up the 1-hit KO. In comes the Palkia, and if Palkia could farm down, it could win, but it can't. Mega Latios just too bulky, getting to the Aura Sphere, and that's going to be all she wrote. Aura Sphere KOs the Palkia, and that's a good game. All in all, these battles were a ton of fun, and it really made me wish that I had gotten the XLs for Latios. I know Mega Latios is currently in the rotation, but at the time you're watching this video, I am currently in Pittsburgh for the Pittsburgh Regional Championships. I'm casting on site, so I'm going to be casting all day, and that means I'm not going to be doing Mega Latios raids. I do really wish that I had the XLs, because to me, outside of the Primals and Gyarados, this to me is the next best Mega. I would say Ampharos is also a very strong one, just because being an electric type in the Mega Master League is a massive plus, but my goodness, the bulk on Latios is absolutely unreal. It has amazing coverage, with Aura Sphere being able to threaten Gyarados for immense damage because of Latios' huge stats, and then Luster Purge. Anything that doesn't have a Psychic Resist is in danger of getting one-shot by a Luster Purge. This Pokemon is unbelievably strong, and even when it goes up against the Primals, we saw it was more than capable of holding its own. With the Groudon matchup, you'll probably want it to be slightly chipped first, just because Groudon, especially if it's up a little bit of energy, can make life quite uncomfortable. But Latios was taking those Dragon Tails surprisingly well. So I think this is probably one of the better teams if you're looking to run Mega Latios in these final few days of this week of Mega Master League, or in the next week of Mega Master League. That'll be, I believe, in a month or two from now. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.